Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode we are going to do something about these wheels sticking out from the car. Alright guys, welcome back to the Alfarrari build. Those who haven't been here before, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up to where we are, and if you're enjoying these sort of videos, think about subscribing. It really helps us out. Last week I showed you I finally got some wheels for the car, which I think are the perfect wheels to fit this car. They're 15 by 8 inches wide, which means that they actually stick out from the side of the car a little bit. Now, I have mentioned previously that I am not a big fan of the Alfa GTAM bubble arches. I'll post a picture up here, you can have a look. They were period correct. They were used a lot in the racing of the Alfas back in the day. They were a very utilitarian thing. I really think they ruined the lines of the car. To me, the body looks so good as it is, but obviously I need to do something about these wheels. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of the GTAM arches. As I said, they're just not quite right. So I did a bit more research and I found that back in period, they were not the only arches that they used. There is actually another style of arches that can fit these sort of wheels and was used in period. And that's what these are here. So this is, the front and rear arches are slightly different. The rear is a bit of sort of a bubble type arch. The front has a nice big sort of sweeping curve to it. They were used in period. These were used for homologation for the race cars. So this is the style of arch that I'm going to use. And I like the idea of this style of arch, particularly because I think it's going to match in with that bonnet bulge that I've got. So the bonnet bulge, I deliberately made it so it sort of looks like it's an addition to the car. It doesn't blend in and try and pretend it's part of the original car. You can see that it's been added. Yes, it is bigger, I've mentioned previously, than I would really have liked, but that's what was needed to fit that Ferrari engine in there. And these will also look like an addition to the car, which I think will help tie in that bonnet bulge and really make it work. So let's just quickly mock these up to the car so you can see what it looks like. All right, so that gives you a rough idea of what they are going to look like. I think they really add to it. It tucks the wheels in nicely. They sort of sit in quite well. Unfortunately, these were very expensive and they're very average quality, to be honest. At one stage, many years ago, I was part owner in a fiberglass body kit company making body kits for drift cars and stuff like that. So I have a bit of experience with fiberglass, and these are very, very simple parts to make, and yeah, the quality is very poor, particularly with how expensive they are. But anyway, we're moving on. Normally, the way people would fit these is they would go through along this edge and drill and screw or rivet them onto the body of the car. Now, I don't particularly like that look. I want them to be a little bit more seamless on the body of the car. The issue is that molding fiberglass arches onto steel car, it can be done. It can look okay for a while. It always cracks. Eventually, the fiberglass guards molded onto steel parts crack. That is because when you get this the car out in the sun, the heat of the metal is always expanding and contracting in the sun, and the fiberglass doesn't expand and contract the same way as the metal does, so eventually it's going to crack. It's just different types of products, just they're not supposed to go together. So that gives me a conundrum, is I don't want to mold them on and I don't want to see the fixings. So that means that I'm going to have to come up with another way to mount these onto the car, and I have a bit of a plan for that. So my plan to mount these guards is to actually have some fixings on the inside of the arch, and essentially on the outside you'll just see a very smooth perfectly even seam all the way around and just have a very nicely mounted arch to the car with no obvious ways that it's actually been held on. Now, to do this, I'm going to have to do it in a couple of stages because I want to try and mold it onto the car sort of as it is now, but obviously this is not perfect. Once I actually finish this car properly, I'm going to have to do it again because it's obviously going to change the shape of the joint, and I want this joint to be perfect. So first things first, let's get around and actually measure up and place these arches exactly where I want them. I want to get it exactly right all the way around on all of the arches so they're nice and even, symmetrical, and then we can start marking things out and working out how we're actually going to make these fixings mount to the car. All right, that took a lot of time to try and get these things lined up nicely all the way around. They're not overly symmetrical, these things. Yeah, the quality, as I said, is pretty average. Even like on the front corner of two front lips as they come around. On this side, it sort of comes all the way around. The other side has been cut short, so there's lots of little modifications and repairs that I need to do to make them fit nicely. Now I've got them in there, it's time to sort out how I'm going to actually mount them to the car. And what I did is I went and got myself a bunch of these M5 flange insert nuts. So these are actually designed for timber, but they've got a lot of sort of thread on them and bite on them, so that I'll be able to bolt them from the back. So I can put bolts in from the back, but these will be captive nuts inside a fiberglass layer that I'm going to have to lay on here to get them to hold nicely. And because they've got all this sort of bulk to them and these sort of tabs, they should hold in quite nicely and not sort of spin or break away like regular nuts. Is quite hard. If I put regular nuts in there, the chances of them spinning when you try and tighten them or whatever is quite high. I think these should work much better. So the way I'm thinking of doing it is I'm actually going to slide these underneath up as far as I can to the edge of where the guard is, slide these up inside so that they are sitting flush against the body of the car, mark where they are, then I can take this all off, drill holes into the steel body, bolt these in, and then I can sit the guards back on again, and they should sit on top of these just nicely, and when I get in there I can fiberglass the inner to the outer. That's the plan. Let's start marking out some spots. All right, so I've got the arches taped onto the car, sitting where I want them, and I've gone through now, and you can see where these nuts are inside the wheel arch, getting ready so that I can actually fiberglass them and join them to the outer guard. So that is 1 down, 3 to go. Okay, so I've gone through now and I've put my little mounts all the way around underneath all of these arches. I've sort of taped them back on again to make sure they fit and they all line up where they need to. So the next thing is to take these back off, and I need to be able to attach those little points to the back of these arches. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put a release tape all over the body of the car, and then put some fiberglass onto the body of the car so that I can then squeeze these on, join these onto the fresh fiberglass, and hopefully it all becomes one piece, and I can pull them off again and they've got a bit more structure. I can tidy up some of the rougher edges I'm not as happy about, and we can make something that works. All right, so I've put some packing tape over the body of the car, obviously because I don't want the fiberglass to stick onto the car. So now what I'm going to do, I've got the my bolts and little nuts all through onto the car. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start fiberglassing over this strip, get a nice build up of fiberglass, and then I can, I'm going to just quickly rough up the back of this, the wheel arches, and hopefully while it's wet I'm going to be able to stick this down, clamp it on, and get it all bonded together so we actually have these wheel arches with the mounting points underneath. All right, that was a bit of time spent there getting the first one on, clamping it all down in the right spots and making it just right. I got underneath and added extra fiberglass to sort of wedge into the gaps and make sure it gets a nice bond. It's all bonded together nicely. This is all clamped on and setting up, so I'm going to leave this side now, go over the other side, see if I can drill out the holes and get everything ready so that we can get the other side matching this one. All right, the fixings are mounted on, they're ready to go, so now it's time to pull the arches back off, tape it up, and glass them on. Okay, this side has had a day or so to set up, so it's time to get the clamps off, unbolt it from the back, and then see if we can peel it off and see if it's actually worked the way I want it to. All right, first one is off, and there are a couple of these nuts that I didn't fiberglass enough around. There were two of them, I believe, that spun in their spot, so I'm going to have to re-fiberglass them in. I'm going to be doing some more repairs. Obviously, this is all pretty rough at the moment. You can see that there. It is molded to the car. It does have the nuts in it, but yeah, some of them are not up to my standard, but that will be a little bit of trimming and stuff. But overall, it actually is a piece that now molds beautifully to the car, and when I trim it and shape it, it will be a perfect fit, which is exactly what I wanted. So one down, let's pull the one off the back and then see how that one is. All right, I had more issues with this one. I obviously didn't fiberglass in these the nuts in well enough on two of these spots where not only they spin, but they actually like they've completely broken out. So I'm going to have to go in now and replace the nut. I'll do it. The rest of the mold of the shape is here, so I'll do it off the car. Just try and get them to sit roughly where they're supposed to go. All right, I have both sides fully connected on now. Hopefully this side I've done a little bit more thorough job than I did on the first side. So fingers crossed it's going to stick and I'll actually be able to get the bolts out without the nuts spinning in their positions. Once I get them off, I'm actually going to be able to get in behind and sort of get them down and reinforce them properly. I did go through and repair the couple that had the studs pulled out of them. They're actually, I've just sort of taped it together in there and tried to cobble them into place again. But that is all the time I have. I've got to let this set up now, so I'm sort of twiddling my thumbs until such time as it's all set up and I can cut them apart and start modifying them properly and getting them to sit nicely and molded on with a nice perfect curve. So I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, Enzo Ferrari's racing team, Scuderia Ferrari, was the most successful racing team of its day until Alfa Romeo, who was suffering financial difficulties, withdrew its support in 1935. Well, this could have been devastating for Scuderia Ferrari, but Pirelli stepped in, convincing Alfa Romeo to supply 6 of their P3s, effectively making Scuderia Ferrari Alfa Romeo's in-house racing team. Despite now being a factory team with some of the best drivers of its day, they struggled to compete with the emerging German cars such as Mercedes and Auto Union, which is also known now, or rather which became known as Audi. By 1937, Scuderia Ferrari was dissolved as Alfa renamed their race team Alfa Corsa, but they kept on Enzo as manager.
All right, guys, that's it for another week. I've been dying to get these arches on the car. I do like the look. In some ways, I'm not a huge fan of the bubble style on the back, but it is sort of period correct and it matches in. And once they're all molded on and sort of, I was going to say seamless, but they're not going to be seamless. They're going to have that seam. I think they're really going to match the style of the car. I've still got to move around the rear axle to get the exact alignment, but that's all doable with the panhard rod. so don't worry about where the actual wheels sit at this stage.
Is this the last of the fiberglassing?
No.
Okay. No, just wondering.
Well,
It's,
I've got more to do on these. But no, there's not going to be a lot of fiberglass in this
has
car.
a special aroma that
Yeah,
you
it smells so
drag
good.
with
I
you.
really hate
Yeah.
fiberglass. Anyway,
Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying watching Jeff work on his cars. And if you'd like to see the videos a day early with no ads, please follow us on Patreon.
yep,
That was all, I think.
yep.
And, yeah.
We'll see you on
Let
the
Jeff
next
know
one.
what you think on the comments.
All right, guys.
Bye,
See
guys.
you next week.
It's really loud in here, isn't it?
It is. I think that's right. That's not going to help the bloopers. That one. Too good.
I think the brain's improving.
Yes. We'll leave the throttling in it.
I think so. Makes it more human. That's not quite right. It's good. As Alfa renamed the race team. Okay.